All right, it is about time to do some more creative writing. So I'm going to introduce to you Creative Writing Assignment 2. Once again, there are two parts. The first part is the main event. And that is the writing of the story itself. You have several options from the writing prompts that we've done since the last writing assignment. Once again, you can use what you already wrote and build it into a bigger, better story, or you can also scrap what you did before and start over if you feel like it. You also have more room to work with. The word limit is 600 to 700 words, but as always, you have 10% wiggle room. This part is exactly the same. A massive aspect of the focus of the assignment is on crafting the story so that it makes a big impact. Think about the mood, the voice, etc. that you want. Think about organization. What kind of order will work? Do you need flashbacks or flash forwards? Is it better to start at the end, start in the middle? All of these kinds of things are going to come into play as possibilities. This is the timeline, 2 class periods for planning and drafting, then some days to work on it during spares or at home. And on Friday, you'll have time in class for peer review and feedback, plus time to revise. And then the final part and part 2 will be due on the Tuesday next week. The story should be typed, double spaced, and all of it should be handed in on paper. Finally, the usual reminder, absolutely no part of this assignment is allowed to be generated or changed using AI. All of the outcomes being marked require that you are doing this work yourself. Any use of AI will get you a 0 on the assignment. The next page in the document is the rubric. I won't read through the whole rubric, but you have it in your handout to refer to. Use this after you've decided on the basics of what you want to write to make sure that your plan will incorporate enough of the strategies to hit all of the targets solidly or excellently. You also have this checklist to help keep you on track. For the writing strategies in the middle of the page, this is not an exhaustive list. And dialogue is really a basic expectation, not a particularly snazzy thing on its own. If you want it to stand out as special in any way, then you need to put more thought into it. But as I said, this checklist is for your reference, and it is not something I will be grading. The second part of the assignment is building on a piece that you did in the previous version of this assignment, but not for marks before, and this time it will be. And this time it's straight up preparation for the provincial standards test coming up. So this is the writing variables page, and it's one of the activities you'll be doing in the standards test. This is where you identify what your choices were when planning your story. There's a whole video I made you watch earlier this semester explaining all of this in quite a bit of detail, and you have exemplars of what to do here in your standards test prep booklet. So naturally, I'm hoping this will be easy marks for you. At the very least, it's one last opportunity to make sure you know what you're doing with this before the actual standards test. Now, let's look at filling it in. The first variable is decided for you. It's a short story, so that's all you need to write here. Complicating it further isn't going to enhance anything. The next one can be basically just as straightforward. For purpose, you can simply write to entertain and leave it at that. If you want to be more specific, go for it, but it's not necessary and it won't help you get more marks. For the rest, it's up to you to make some decisions. You've done this before, so I won't go on and on about them, but make sure you've double checked that your context is the context according to the definition on this page, that your audience is specific, and that your central idea is a whole point and not just a topic or the plot of your story. If you need to review any of this, as I said, there's a longer video that I made for you explaining all of this in detail, and you'll be able to find it in course materials. This is the bigger part of the writing variables task, the part that we didn't do before, and it's the reflection. On the standards test, this is the part that is actually for marks. The purpose of this task is to make sure that you have been thoughtful, even strategic, about planning and revising your story. It's asking you to think in advance about what you're doing so that it makes sense. And it's asking you to revise to make sure that your story or text of other kinds is actually genuinely crafted and not just the first words that popped into your head and out onto the page. Then on this page, you'll explain all of that thinking. So there are 5 prompts. According to the question, you can do one and you can do more than one. I strongly recommend that you do 2 or 3 of the prompts. Do 2 if you have lots to say about the 2 that you choose. Do 3 if you think you can't fill the page with just 2. Use the prompts exactly as they appear on the page. What I mean by that is literally copy them. Don't try to be creative. It's going to waste your time and brain power. It's not going to help anything, and it might, worst case scenarios, actually annoy your tired marker if they have to reread to figure out what you're trying to talk about. Also remember that you don't have to include an intro or claim or any of that fancy argumentation stuff, because this is not an argument. It's just a report of what you decided and why. However many of the prompts you choose to do, fill the page and make sure that you include specific examples from your text. If you need to go past one page, that is okay. But don't go past one page because you think you need to do all 5. That would waste your time. And also avoid baloney. So don't say things like, my text is going to capture my audience's attention because I used a very small, basic, repetitive vocabulary because that's what people like. Because that is just nonsense. And if you don't have good examples of techniques you use to make your text great, I recommend you pick a different prompt. If you write this by hand, it must be in ink. It is acceptable for this assignment to type it, but it is not acceptable to use AI for any part of this either. That is the overview of Creative Writing Assignment 2. It's mostly the same as Assignment 1 with a little bit more room to work and a little bit more work to do. I look forward to your stories.